Steve Garfield, it's good to see you this morning, 8 a.m. on the West Coast, 11 on the East Coast. How are you doing, my photographer, writer, and investor? It's good to see you.
Good to see you too. I'm so glad you asked me to be on the show. We can catch up. It's been a while since we've actually talked to each other.
It
I call this in person.
it is in person. It sure feels like it, and that's why I'm so all in when it comes to video. Also, I gotta say, sir, I love your hat. I love
Thank
the way you
you.
roll.
Yeah, I saw your promo or the show with my Red Sox hat and the camera and everything. A good old time. So I had to go get my hat.
You got to. One of the things I picked up in your first book, Get Seen, was, not only to give myself permission to tap into the power of video. And so thank you for that. Okay. It really did change my life. It changed my branding and my law firm. But it also mentioned in between the lines, be yourself on live video, be on video. Okay. On video, not necessarily live video. And for those reasons, Steve, I'm not in a suit. I just got back from a run. This is Mitch, everybody. You get what you see. And what you will be seeing today, not only get seen, but got seen, is my special guest, Steve Garfield. His latest book, Got Seen, is his autobiography. And Steve, let me just start off with, I noticed in your book, looking at some reviews, talking to some friends of mine, that you really, what's fascinating about your autobiography is all of your life experiences and the cool things you did, not only with respect to a radio broadcasting type of scenario from a sidewalk while you were a child, to fast forward and working with, Jay Leno, Jimmy Fallon, political candidates, doing just a lot of really cool things, and how you kind of integrated many of your experiences of writing, of comedy, with your passion for photography and video. And I think that's what's really, really cool about your book, is it will help all of us and remind all of us that we can tap into our life experiences to help us get done what we want to do today and moving forward, tomorrow and thereafter. My first question for you, and by the way, everybody, we've got Steve Garfield here. Ask your questions. We're broadcasting across all the live platforms: Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Amazon Live. Hello, Amazon Live. Get Steve's book. We are to the left, the right, the top or bottom of Steve's new book, Got Seen.
That is
And
exciting to
isn't
hear
that
that
cool
you can
technology?
broadcast this to Amazon with the book. I've never even heard of that. And that's another new thing that I'm going to have to
Ooh.
research.
Well, on this show, Steve, you got seen. Okay, it's happening. So we're tapping into the Amazon global community also, everybody. And that's what's cool about video and live video. So why don't we go back to the very beginning, Steve, and talk to me or talk to our audience a little bit, and ask your questions, everybody. Okay, we'll bring them up and have Steve respond to the questions. But what first got you interested in video?
Oh, man. Photography would be the start. Growing up, my father would always take the photos, and then I would be interested in this camera and how it worked and everything. And then he says, "Well, here, you take the photos." So then I took the camera, and I was really interested in taking pictures and learning everything I could about photography. And that led me to becoming the yearbook photographer in high school. And so what I learned about was framing the photos and all that. So then when VHS camcorder, you would have it in your house and you would play your VHS tapes and record TV shows. And then attached to that, I got this Panasonic video camera that hooked up to the VCR, and you had to I don't know if you had one of these. You had to strap the VHS recorder over your back and then take the camera. And so then that interest in photography I developed an interest in video and learning how to shoot video with this home movie camera, up until the point when the family was like, enough. Please don't bring that video camera to the holidays anymore. So, I mean, that was my initial interest in video. And then I was still interested in it. There's a lot of the story,
I know that was
really.
a very open-ended question, but
But
that's what I do for a living, Steve. I like to get my witnesses to talk as much as they do from the witness stand. It's interesting because technology's changed so much. I remember those early cameras, and how much work it took really to kind of put everything together. It took an effort on your part to do that. But today it's just a couple of clicks. It's going down to the store, buying an iPhone or an Android,
Oh
and
my
you're.
goodness, yeah.
That's,
The camera development of my development was from that VHS camera to then the Canon GL2, and that
mm.
was kind of a prosumer camera, and you had mini DV tapes, and that's what really got me into video. And then I started producing videos with that, and was doing video production with that. So I that's how I learned and used the camera, and then that got into a Panasonic camera with little mini SD cards, which was a huge breakthrough because instead of after you recorded your videos with the mini DV tape, you'd have to sit there, and if you recorded an hour video to get it on your computer, you'd have to record it and wait an hour. And then when the mini SD cards came out, you could just drag and drop. So then I used the Canon camera to do that, and then that went, as you say, to the iPhone, where you can just shoot video and you're online and you're. I mean, it's just so different than where I started.
It really is. And I want to give a shout out to Chris Stone, Steve. You need to meet Chris and his partner, Jim Fuse, who are the gentlemen that introduced me to Amazon Live. So, Chris, it's good to see you this morning.
Hey, Chris Stone, Amazon Live. That's
They've got it
awesome.
they've got it dialed in. It's pretty amazing technology. So let's go back to for those people that are watching the recorded version of the show. Steve, talk to me a little bit about your most recent book. Let's just start right off the bat. Got Seen. What was the motivation behind putting this book together? What's the message that you want to share or you did share? And what are your favorite takeaways from Got Seen, your autobiography?
So this started when I went to an Inbound conference in Boston, and actually David Meerman Scott was there, who is a mutual friend of ours, and he was running a session where people came in and they did 15-minute talks, and one of his speakers wasn't showing up. So he said, "Hey, Steve, do you have 15 minutes to come up and talk?" And I should have had 15 minutes. And I normally would have, but I didn't, and I felt really bad about it. I was like, oh, I need 15 minutes of a talk of my, you know, lessons learned in life. And so after the speaker ended up showing up, so I didn't have to do it anyways. And then another friend of mine, Laura Odding, was there, and she said, "Steve, you need to get this down, and you need to make a presentation and have it ready to go." And this was probably in November. And she said, "I want to see a presentation by you by January 1st. Top 5 lessons learned in life. You need to do it." And she's great at, giving you, making you do something like that. So I says, "All right, I'm going to go back and I'm going to get the 5 lessons of life and I'm going to write them down." And that was like the hardest thing to figure out and start. I couldn't do it. I was like, "Oh my God, I've got so many things in my life." I says, "You know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to write them all down." And so that's how the idea of the autobiography came. And I just started it. It was chronologically. I went over to LinkedIn. I took everything I'd done. I threw it in a document and I started expanding my life and writing all the stories of my life. And then as I went along, I says, "Okay, I'm going to grab this. Oh, what was my lesson learned from getting my first job?" And so I pulled out a lesson, which is, that lesson is they're not going to know you're interested unless you tell them that you're interested. And these are lessons that I've carried through life. So it came out to 17 lessons of life and in 17 chapters. And that's how I ended up with this book.
I've got a list over on my left, Steve Garfield's 17 Rules for Life. And these are the types of things that we as parents can share with our kids. These are things that lawyers maybe need to tap into to deliver better products and services to our clients, any business person. For example, number 1, think, give first, which is my favorite. In my profession, that's probably not on the top of the list, but the lawyers that do figure that out are the ones that develop human connections and build lifelong practices. Why is that number 1 on your list? And when did you first grasp the concept of how powerful it is to give before asking or doing anything else?
Well, it just happened over time. The story in the book was when I was in like elementary school and they asked for volunteers to deliver the milk to the classrooms. Back when I went to school, they had milk and you gave in like 5 cents, and someone had to deliver the milk and they asked me if I wanted to do that. And I said I did. And you had to get to school earlier than everybody else and do it. And I volunteered to do that. But that just carried through. Good things just come back to me when I give. And this was when I figured out how to do video blogging. And I was one of the first to figure out how to put video on a blog. So I started a blog and I called it Steve Garfield's Video Blog. And on that blog, this was January 1st, 2004, I started posting tips on how I'm learning how to shoot video for the web, how I'm writing embed code, and everything I learned, I put on that blog and I put it out there for free. And then as I did that, people found me because they were searching for how to do the stuff, and they came and I learned from them, and I made some lifelong best friendships from that. And where it all started was just giving. And I didn't charge for it. I didn't put it behind a paywall, and I never even thought of that because of all the good that just came from giving like that.
Do you think that approach still works today in today's world, 2022? Taking down the paywalls, giving as much as you can. What are your thoughts?
I do. I think so. Sure. I mean, you scroll through TikTok, and
Are you on TikTok? Are you on TikTok?
I am on TikTok. Not a lot, but you know what I love about TikTok is how it allows you to create videos so easily.
Yeah.
Are you on TikTok?
I am on TikTok, to my kids' disappointment. They're like, Dad, come on, give us a space. Stay away from TikTok. I am, Steve, but tell us why you like it so much.
This is what I figured out on TikTok. I mean, even though TikTok's been around a lot, Gary Vaynerchuk said, get on TikTok years ago, and people should have listened to him, but you can still get on there. It's not too late. It's never too late to get on these platforms. And the thing that I would suggest people do would be get on TikTok and spend time and learn and understand that program and the interface and how to use the tool. Because I decided I'm going to make a cooking video on TikTok. And I really didn't know how to use it that much, but I just go in and do it. So I filmed each of the steps of making this little hors d'oeuvre. And I filmed maybe a 10-second video, 5 to 10 seconds of each step, mixing the dough, forming it, putting it in the oven, putting it on the sheet, taking it out of the oven. So I filmed all those parts, and then I found this music, and then what I did was I sent in the clips, like the 17 clips, and I picked a song, and I said, make the video. And what it did was it edited to the beat. And that's something that you would have to take hours. I remember editing to the beat, like when the beat hits, you change the video. And so TikTok did this all for me. And the really interesting thing about it is it took each of my, 3 to 5 to 10-second videos and made them 3 seconds. And so in the end, my total video was, let's see, maybe 30 seconds. And in my mind, a cooking video, usually back in the day, I would make a 3 to 5 minute cooking video. But here, TikTok, the program edited to the beat and made each of my steps 3 seconds, and it went boom, 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 boom. Great to this music. And people liked it. And I was like, wow, that's really interesting that it could only be 3 seconds. So I learned from that. I mean, I learned that you can always make it shorter and edit. Editing is just a whole science to itself. But I really like the way that would help someone who says, oh, it's too much work to edit, or I don't know how to make a video, or I don't want to be in the video. This is perfect for them.
It really is. And I'm fascinated by someone that knows photography, knows video, wrote the book back in the day, Get Seen, about video, talking to us about a new quote unquote video platform that you're taking the skills that you've learned throughout your
Yeah.
lifetime and applying them to this new platform. And that leads into a couple of questions. I'm getting text, I'm
Oh,
getting
you know what?
DMs,
I want to say one more thing before we go to questions.
absolutely. Oh
You
yeah,
know,
absolutely.
it's the thing about TikTok. You can say save the video to your camera roll, and then you can put it on YouTube or Facebook or Twitter or send it to someone. You know, so you're not necessarily a TikToker or a TikTok. It can be on TikTok, but you can also take it. It's done the video editing for you, and it's portable. It's unbelievable.
Well, and the question I was going to ask has to do with video editing on TikTok, and you alluded to this about how the algorithm, how TikTok will help you edit better videos, but also the importance of editing our videos. In other words, how important is editing video? Maybe back in 2008, 9, and 10. I think your book came out around 2010, if I'm not mistaken.
That's
Your
right.
first
Yep.
book, Get Seen. Fast forward to today. Talk to us a little bit about in 2022, how much time should we be spending in our video production, whether it's live or recorded, with the editing? And they asked, what tools do you use to edit traditional video, probably for YouTube, for Instagram, things like this? Great
Oh my
question.
God, that's the biggest question.
I
That's
know,
such
I
a
know.
that
I
question
want to
is
ask the questions that are asked, Steve. So don't shoot the messenger.
no. I mean, there's a million ways to answer it. There's the answer. Spend a lot of time editing it and getting it down, and spending time to craft a story. And then there's the other part of it. Don't edit at all. Just put it out there and like go live and do a video and don't edit. So you can do either. I mean, if you know, wouldn't get hung up on the idea that you have to do a perfect edit. Um, I would suggest, this is what I would suggest from all the years of doing it. I was involved in a online uh, system called Seismic. That was video messaging, just what Twitter is about to roll out, where someone does a tweet and you do a video response. Those aren't going to be edited. So if you open up your computer and record a video and do a one-shot video and and just record it into the camera and hit stop and then play it back, you can look at yourself. If you're not familiar with being on camera, most people, I think this is with the pandemic, what happened was a lot of people were on Zoom and they got a lot more comfortable, like talking to the camera and doing it right and have the camera at the right eye level, although some people still need help with camera placement and audio and how to do it
Yeah.
all. But my point here is that you can do a one take little short video, look at the camera, play it back, and if you don't like it, it hasn't gone anywhere, you can delete it and record it again. You could record it 20 times until you get a video that you like. And then a tip for editing this would be, let's say I wanted to do a video of my 17 rules for life. I have them all here in a list too, but it would be difficult for me to do a video with these 17 rules of life because I don't know them by heart, so I'd have to look. But the way to do it in a video for you, if you want to learn how to do this editing real quick, is you look at the first one, which is think, give first, and I would hit record, and then I would go, the first rule is think, give first. And then I would go look down, be interested, show that you are interested in them and they will be interested in you. The second one is be interested, show that you are interested in them and then they will be interested in you. So now you have two videos, and what you can do in your editor is cut out the beginning, cut out the end, and this is called an assemble edit. And you take the first one, assemble it to the second one, assemble it to the third one, and you don't have to memorize. That's the problem with people being inauthentic in video. They're trying to memorize, or they have the thing here, and you can see that they're obviously reading ask for advice. You're not looking at the camera. It just isn't. You're uncomfortable watching the person reading. So that's my tip on how to do something like that without getting very complicated in editing. It's just an assemble edit of those things, and you just put them together.
It's a game changer, Steve.
Yep,
That
simple.
I'm so glad you shared that technique, because back in the day after I read your book, Get Seen, which everyone, that was Steve's book about how to use video to do all the things that we're doing today. I went the route with trying to memorize my script, what I was going to say. I went the route with using different types of teleprompters. I went the route with struggling and starting over and over and over from the beginning, and it was frustrating and it was hard, and it actually made me push the camera away for a while
Oh,
and not do as many videos, right?
yeah.
Until I learned what you just said, and that is hit record, say what you have to say, take a break, look down at your talking point, come back, try not to move your head too much, right? So that when you're editing, it's a nice smooth transition. Maybe just look down with your eyes like I am right now and look back up and then continue and then edit it out afterwards. What a game changer when it comes to video production. That value bomb was just dropped by Steve Garfield. Steve, the reason you brought that up is it's a powerful technique to use,
Yeah.
and it works really well, right?
I mean, I use it all. That's just part of how I
Yeah.
do video. And actually, for TikTok, you could do the same thing. And now you're just on your phone, and you're on your phone. You open up the clip, and all you do is, it's so easy now. You have the video clip, and you just squeeze it shorter, and you do that 17 times, and then you say to TikTok, assemble, edit all these, and it does it. Or whatever program you have is just going to do it so easily right now.
Steve, I'm getting questions. I want to pivot just a little bit. I'm getting questions about your involvement with Jimmy Fallon. We all love Jimmy Fallon. We're big fans of his comedy. Many of us of his career. Talk to us a little bit about how you originally connected with Jimmy Fallon and the things that you guys have done together.
So funny. It leads back to that give first. Jimmy Fallon, before he did the Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon, he did Late Night with Jimmy Fallon. And before he did Late Night with Jimmy Fallon, he did a video blog. And he came on that video blog and he said, "Hey, it's Jimmy Fallon. We're going to do a new late night show, and I'm going to share with you behind the scenes," which is something, I love TV. I love behind the scenes. I love Jimmy Fallon. And he says, "So, just come back here to the web, and we're going to do a new video blog every night, and I want you to come back." So back in 2000, when did he do that show? It's somewhere in the 2010s. Video blogging was new, and I was one of the first video bloggers in this group and trying to help promote video blogging. So if he's Jimmy Fallon and he's going to go on and say you're going to do a new video blog every night, that's not correct, because that would mean you were going to create a new video blog every night with a new URL and a new title. He was doing a new video every night, a new video on his blog every night. And so, as one of the first video bloggers, I wanted him to just say it right and not promote something wrong. So I messaged the show, and I sent in a message, and I told him what I just said to you. And this was on a Monday. And so on Friday, Jimmy gets on the video blog and he says, "Hey guys, now we're doing a new segment where we have messages from viewers. And our first one is from Steve Garfield, who says, it's not a new video blog every night. It's a new video on the blog every night." He says, "Thank you, Steve. That's great. That's what we're going to do." So I'm just giving him advice, for free, because, that's how I am. And then the next week on Monday, he says, "Okay, another week of our video blog. This week, we're going to have video comments. So please send in your videos with any kind of questions you have." So I sent in a video comment. And that Friday, he comes up and he says, "Okay, it's video comment time. And our first video question is from our old pal, Steve Garfield." That's what happened.
I love that.
And he played my video, and that happened. And so I hooked up with the producer of the show, Gavin Purcell, and I would just send him in all my ideas to help him and to help him make it better. And they were very appreciative of it. And one time I was planning a trip to New York City, so I messaged Gavin and I says, "Hey, I'll be in New York City. Can I come to the show?" And he said, "Absolutely." So I came to the show, and make a long story short, they went, "Oh, Steve Garfield here." They had a special seat for me in the audience, and they had a ribbon And they like took the ribbon away and they had me sit there. And so I went to the pre-show rehearsal. So before the taping of the show, Jimmy comes out and he does, he tries out his jokes on an audience. So he's trying out his jokes and he says, "Hey, look, everybody in the audience, it's Steve Garfield sitting up there. I want you all to see Steve Garfield. Say hi. He's helped us out. It's Steve Garfield, blah, blah, blah." So that was kind of cool. And then everybody in the audience leaves, but they kept me aside and I got to go into the show, into the taping of the real show. And so when I went back into the taping of the real show, that ribbon seat, the same seat was there for me. So I thought, oh my God, Jimmy knows where I'm sitting. Maybe I'm going to be on maybe I'm going to be on the show or something. I don't know. But we went through the whole show and, I wasn't on the show or anything. But then at the end of the show, he runs up through the audience and he saw me and he went, "Same seat." And gave me a big hug. And then after the show, well, it was maybe before the show, but he took me behind the scenes. And this was back when I was doing live streaming on a Nokia phone with Quick. This was way in the beginning of live streaming when no one was doing it. And I had Quick and Jimmy Fallon giving me a tour backstage, and I was live with questions off of a cell phone. He says, "Hey, Steve, you want to do an interview?" I went, "Yeah, okay." And so we did that. And, the whole relationship with Jimmy has just continued since those early days. It's been really fun. And it was all from me just giving him advice for free, see? And I got so much back from it.
I love this. We're getting good responses from across the internet. Steve, Marcel, Allen, wonderful story. And I want everyone to know that you can, if you're watching this on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, Amazon Live, all the different platforms, you can comment, you can ask questions. We've got a lot of questions, Steve. We're not going to get through all of them today. I'm just going to be honest with everybody. But look, one of the things that I just took away from your story is from your first book, Get Seen, to your most recent book, Got Seen, you used video technology back in the day, sharing some free advice, some free suggestions in a human way. In other words, it wasn't the video that made the difference. It was the thoughts and the advice and the help that you were offering through different channels that connected directly or indirectly with your video presence. I'm sure they checked you out, clicked around on your blog, who's communicating with Jimmy, right?
Right.
And
right.
it led to a relationship. And I want people to really wrap their head around that. It's not just doing this live show. It's all the other things that we do in what I call the digital dance, to build relationships, to help other people, to shine a light on the projects that other people are doing. Video really allows us to do that really well, Steve. And once again, I want everyone to know that's why I asked Steve to be on the show today. His book back in 2010, Get Seen, was something that really did help motivate me and keep me going with creating video, for good or bad. I mean, half the people out there can't stand to see me on video, Steve. The other half are great and good friends. And that's just part of the nature of the beast when you're putting yourself out there. You're not going to resonate.
Yeah, back in the day, I did consulting, just tons of consulting projects, and I made custom videos for people. And I went out to a hospital in Worcester, and they wanted help getting their staff doing video. And I said, you know what? On your doctor's bio pages, you just have the photo of every doctor. I says, why don't you have a little video where they're like, hey, I'm this doctor, and I do this and I do that, and so when the person's choosing a doctor, they can see what they're like a little bit. So that was something I did way back in the day. Fast forward to today, I had a problem with my knee, and I went and I wanted to go to find a doctor in the area to look at me. And I'm looking at all the doctor websites, and I found this one website, and there's the surgeon, and he's skiing down a mountain. His wife took the video. I come to find out he skis down. He does a hockey stop in front of the camera and says, "Hey, I'm surgeon da 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 da, and I had these two knees replaced, and it's not a problem. It's not a big deal. And look I'm skiing again. So give the office a call." And so that's the guy I chose. And then I saw him in the office. I said, I want to talk to that surgeon, because I was working with the staff when they looked at my knee and everything's fine. And I said, I want to see that doctor. And he says he was available. And I said, you know what? That video is why I came in here and chose you. And he's like, oh, that video, it's not even good. And my wife shot it. I says, it doesn't matter. it was great, and no one cares. And
That's
that's the story.
you know, and with the professionals out there, you've seen my stuff with the GoPro and the paddleboard and running and skiing or whatever. That's what connects us as human beings. I mean, I want to be around other people and represent clients who I know, like, and trust. I'm interested in them. They like what I'm doing. We share similar hobbies. That's what makes business fun.
Right,
And
right.
through video, like you just shared, people are able to do that. Has that approach changed over the years with more and more people using video? Are we more critical about how it's being used? Are we over analyzing that subliminal message? That are we really being marketed by this person when they're sharing their ski video in today's world? Because it's a different world today and consumer expectations than back 10, 15 years ago. Or do you see it being the relatively same dynamic? I'm curious. This is my
Yeah.
question.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, I think it's totally the same. And
Okay.
as a producer of video, I'm a critical consumer of video that I see. And one place I get them all the time is on Instagram ads late at night when I'm scrolling through my Instagram feed and someone's trying to sell me this thing, and I'm like, whoa, that looks kind of interesting. And I'm like, I
Yeah.
like this video. I click through, and then I'll do research, and look at the website and try and find reviews and things. But video is powerful, and I don't think anybody's, you know, I don't think anyone's trying to trick anybody or anything. I just
Mm-hmm.
think a nice, well done, informative video that's fun is just the same as it was, back in the day.
So one of your 17 rules for life talks about video equipment. What's the best equipment to use? We probably have a dozen questions here on, okay, Steve, I want to raise the bar on my video efforts. I want to start doing video. I want to do video better. What type of equipment should I use? You address that in one of your 17 rules. What's the best equipment to use when it comes to creating video, Steve?
Well, the answer is the camera you have with you.
Mm.
That's the answer.
Why is that?
Because if something happens and you want to shoot video of it, if you might not have a digital. I'm not going to carry around my old digital SLR big with me all the time. I have my iPhone with me all the time, and the iPhone quality is exceptional. You don't need to make it any more complicated than with the smartphones that are out there. You can shoot high quality 4K video, if you want to. I don't even shoot, that's the highest quality on the iPhone right now, but I do a little lower than that, 1080p. It's fine. It's HD video. It's only going on my Facebook page or the web, so it doesn't have to be, it doesn't even have to be as good as the iPhone shoots. And you know what? I have
Mm-hmm.
an example right here. I'm going to show you. I shot a cover of a magazine. This is my first cover that I ever shot of a magazine. Very exciting. They sent me out to shoot this couple, and I went to the golf course to meet them, and I was like a little nervous about it. So I brought all the cameras that I had, my Canon camera, my Panasonic camera, digital SLR camera, I just brought them all, and my tripod and lighting kits, and I started shooting with all the pro gear. And then I says, you know what? Let me just take out my iPhone and shoot a few shots with that too. And I shot the iPhone shots, and then I sent them all into the magazine, and the one that ended up on the cover was the iPhone photo. And the ones that they used on the inside was majority iPhone photos. And the reason is I'm so familiar with everything in the interface on that iPhone is that's where I got my best shots. And the other part about it is from the person I'm shooting's perspective, with all of the gear and the lighting and things, they're more stiff or they're more conscious of it being a photo shoot. With the iPhone, it's just like you go into dinner with all your friends. It's just a typical day-to-day thing. It's like the phone isn't even there, and I'm just taking photos, and it's all natural. Everyone's relaxed. The little girl, the little daughter, I says, oh, hey, let me take a picture of you. And I held it up above her head, and she looked up at me. That got in the magazine. Like, that would not have happened with the big pro gear. The iPhone's perfect. And then the other thing, I get very excited about this.
Good.
Is the iPhone, if you flip it where you do a selfie and you can see yourself, And if you're taking a picture of people and they can see themselves,
Hmm.
that gets you a better photo. Because if you take a photo and the people can't see, like an old style camera, I'm just taking a photo. They like smile, and so they smile, and like they don't get any feedback on what they look like. But with the selfie mode,
Interesting.
like if I'm with them or I'm like, if I'll just put the camera. I have another uh, iPad with the Magic Keyboard. I put it on a ladder, and I have a timer, and I have them look into the iPad. I point to where the camera is. I says, look towards there. Don't look in the middle. I do that, and then I set the timer, and I walk away, and look at the they look at the iPad, and it takes the photos, and I'm not even involved. I give them a little direction, and then they go, you know, and they're animated and they're present, and they did it all. So
I love
that's
that.
something I've been doing that's just been really fun for the
And it,
people and for me. And I might say, okay, 3, 2, go. Like I'll prompt them, but I'm they're just doing it and having a blast.
and that's an approach that all of our live and recorded viewers and listeners can try because it works. Steve, that reminds me, one of my favorite photos that I took over the last 10 years was at a relative's wedding. We're all on the dance floor, right? Just rocking out, middle of the night. And I did exactly what you did, not on purpose, but I did a selfie of me holding the phone with like 5 or 6 family members behind me. But what I noticed is as soon as everyone could see themselves in the selfie, they
Yeah,
all came in close. Their smiles lit up a bunch, and they got more animated.
it's
And it
true.
turned it's so true. I'm so glad you highlighted that technique because it's so powerful, and that's why we have Steve on today, everyone, for many different reasons. He's the author of Get Seen back in 2010, a book that I just love. He's the current author of Got Seen, his autobiography that just rolled out, I believe, this year. It's available on Amazon, everyone, and I'll include the links in the show notes to today's show. And he's someone that's really just pushed the boundaries when it comes to photography, when it comes to video, and everything in between. Especially, I think, combining that human component, Steve, into what you do. One thing I've noticed, and I'm going to give you a heads up, I'm getting some photograph NFT questions. And
Okay.
just hold that thought for a second. Okay, I just wanted to plant that seed. I didn't want to
Yeah.
catch you off guard. But I noticed that in a lot of your work, you share and have pictures with your wife. I believe her name's Carol, if I'm not mistaken,
Yep.
right?
That's right.
And talk to us a little bit about uh, you know about that process, because I noticed a lot of friends of mine, they're not including their families, their significant others, and some of the content that they're sharing, which is totally fine, right? To each his own. But I like to include family pictures in appropriate settings, and I know you do too. Talk to us a little bit about your mindset with bringing Carol into the picture on all of this.
Carol is famous for being in the background.
She is. I know. I noticed
her
that.
yeah, her claim to fame, if you notice over the years and years, decades really, is I took her. I went to South by Southwest, the big media conference down in Austin for maybe 15 years straight every year. And so maybe after 12 years, I asked Carol to come with me, and she came down. And so I'm like taking selfies with me and my buddies. And what happened was Carol would pop her head like in the background between us, like just in the background. She snuck in, and then she kept doing it and doing it. So she's known as like the pop in, like I don't know what you call it. Oh, photobomb.
Yes, that's what it is. Photobomb.
Carol is the photo bomber, so she gets in the spirit of things, and over time, to start, she wasn't an expert in photography or video, but like if I was with her and needed to do a shoot, I taught her how to hold the camera, how to shoot, how to like hold it steady, all the tips. Like if she would to start, she would like normally hold it like this away from her body, and then if she's shooting me and she's the only camera person I have, I would have her hold her arms and her elbows up to her body, and that
Mm.
way, you're not getting it moving and stuff. So she's become my assistant. Like she'll go on shoots with me, and they would say, well, we need you to come shoot this thing. And I says, and I'm bringing my assistant Carol. Or if I'd be invited to Southern California wine tasting because they want me to like write about it, put it on my blog, and I would say it would be a +1 because my assistant Carol would come with me. So she's involved in everything, and she's just become part of everything that I do. And what I did for a period of time with the pandemic, we don't really do it much, but we would travel to destinations, and places would send us places in order to share on social media our experiences. And there was no contracts ever. It was just they know what I do and they know what I share. I would write blog posts, tweets, Instagrams, Facebooks, videos, and nice descriptions of the experience. And what that whole traveling with Carol thing led to was when the New England Patriots went to the Super Bowl against Seattle, GMC was looking for a blogger couple to send to the Super Bowl, all expenses paid. And the head of marketing, yelled down the hall. He says, "Do you know any video blogger couples that we could send to the Super Bowl?" And this one guy down the hall says, "Oh yeah, Steve Garfield. Him and his wife do that stuff." And he called me on the phone and says, "Hi, Steve, this is da-da-da from GMC. Do you and your wife want to go to the Super Bowl?" I says, "Seriously, who is this?" Is this for real? He's like, "No, it's real." I'm like, "Hey, Carol, you want to go to the Super Bowl?" "Yes." And so we went to the Super Bowl, and there was no expectation of, there was no, weren't required to do anything, but they looked at what I do, and they just know I'm going to be sharing everything. So I shot videos and, wrote blog posts and took photos, and we had the best time. And that was all a free trip, and I disclosed it. On everything was a disclosure. This trip was courtesy of General Motors, and so that's how that worked. But Carol's an integral part of all those things.
She is, and we all love seeing the photographs that you share of Carol because it's always her eyes. She's photobombing you from behind, so it's kind of fun. It's kind of your thing, right? And I think that's what connects us as human beings. You're also a photographer, and you share a lot of beautiful photography. It looks to me like Boston area backyard, stuff like that on walks. But that leads us to the next series of questions in the last, 10 or 15 minutes of today's live show. Marcella Allen asked, how do we best help clients, explore the metaverse? I'm getting questions about, hey, Steve, are you thinking about, or are you doing NFTs, non-fungible tokens? Are you sharing your art, your photography, your videos in these new spaces in new ways? What are your thoughts just on NFTs and the metaverse and taking what you've been doing to get seen, and you got seen, as you've shared with us today, into this new dynamic that we're all reading about, hearing about, and some of us are diving headfirst into?
Some people are diving in headfirst and making a ton of money being the first to do these things and exploring it and taking advantage. I am not taking advantage of it. I'm very wary of the technology, and I'm following it, and I'm reading up a lot about it, and reading different stories about how people are losing their hashes or their tags. I don't know a lot about it, but one thing I'm concerned about is like, where is this all stored? Like, it's all kind of democratized with servers and things, but what if someone who's serving content, their server shuts down? Like, is everything gone? Like, it's kind of a wild west of the internet. But like back in the early days, so I have a programming background, and I'm more of a fan of a centralized database. Like, that Citizens Bank, Bank of America, they got it all handled. That's not going to go down, and they got it backed up. So I'm confident in where that is. With NFTs and the hashes and all of this, it's what really makes me question how this thing works? The mining of bitcoins. So you have bitcoins which have a dollar value associated with them, but how do you make money? You get a server farm, and you run it and run it and run it, in like Iceland somewhere because it's steam powered and it costs you less, and then you make money. You've made a Bitcoin, you've invested a lot of money to make it, but you're just out there making money out of nothing. It seems. I mean, I don't. So let me just say one other thing. Gary Vaynerchuk's big into NFTs, and he's like,
Hmm.
"Hey, you should get into this, and here's how to buy one of these little pieces of art." And so then you get a 8, 10, 15 paragraph thing on how to do it. Well, you gotta get an account here, then you have to go here, and then you have to pay the gas fees, which are fluctuating. And if you want to start and you want to invest in something, the transaction fee is going to be $160 to start. And then on top of that is the value fee of the. It's kind of crazy. If Bank of America came out and said, here is a database we have of NFTs and you can buy this one and you own it, okay, then I'd feel confident about it. But with NFTs, you're not even buying the NFTs, as I understand it,
Ooh, I
aren't.
think I think
Uh,
I love the fact that I asked this question,
yeah,
Steve. We may have to.
The NFTs aren't sitting on the blockchain.
Mm-mm.
The hash
Mhm.
pointing to a URL is what you're buying. I mean, that's how confusing it is.
So, Steve, in your 17 rules for life, number 16,
Oh my.
you have share via social media. You like share your stuff on social media, okay? And I remember when I first started doing videos and looking at those early YouTube videos, which make me cringe when I look at them today, but it was part of the process. It was part of me learning how to do it.
Oh, I agree too.
Um,
Mine too. Same.
so here's the thing though, is when I first started doing that, people were telling me, Mitch, what's to protect your I'm a lawyer, IP rights. What's to protect somebody from taking that video and sharing it someplace you don't want it shared? Or what if somebody alters what you say? What if somebody manipulates that video? All real concerns, right? Even more so today than ever before. But I'm wondering if your thoughts right now, I'm wondering if 10 years from now, we're going to look back and we're going to be at that same point when we first started sharing our photos and our videos on traditional social media platforms. For example, I see NFT technology and metaverse technology, I see it as just exploding and changing everything, but we're at the learning stages where everyone's struggling. It's not easy to use. The questions you just asked are what a lot of very sophisticated professional people are asking. They're the right questions. I don't know the answers, but it's one of these things where I don't see it not continuing to progress. And so the next question is, how can we tap into it safely and effectively to get seen, right? So that many of us 20 years from now can look back and write our own books, got seen, the autobiography of XYZ. I don't know. I almost feel like we need to be playing in these sandboxes to stay relevant, to share our content, to, if you're an artist or creative, movies, music, videos, whatever it might be, they do offer some interesting opportunities to pull away from the big corporate entities that are in control of your careers and your lives, right? And
Yeah,
create something that you're kind of in control of. But you're right, you're only in control of so much of it.
I
And let me
do.
just,
I hear you. I mean, I've been
I
reading
mean,
so much about it, and so the decentralization of it is what you're saying is the artists love because they're in control of their art. They're going to get money for it. You can enter
yeah.
a metaverse of gaming, and you can buy the token, or you can buy like the bag of jewels that will help you in the game. But then it's yours, and you can sell that versus the game company just selling it to you, and that's it. So there's a
Mhm.
whole level of people participating in the having the value, owning the value of it. So I would say it's great
Yeah.
to experiment. People can experiment with like I would say I would take the money on the side, like gambling money, to kind of throw at it. But the other thing is, I would look at people like Gary Vaynerchuk and the major players that like the ones that seem most stable is where you would want to put money in versus some people create these NFTs and these coins and everybody puts their money in, then they take the money and shut it down and leave. that's a story
Oh,
too. I mean, how do
it's a
you know?
huge,
How
yeah.
do you really know? So
Look who you're talking to. Listen, here's the thing. Being the lawyer that everyone knows on social media, Steve, I'm the one that gets those emails and those text messages, right? And I shared a tweet back in November, and I said my tweet, and it was pretty well received, was, in my opinion, about 98% of these NFT projects are going to explode and blow up, in a bad way. Okay. People are going to lose money. It's just not going to happen. But that 2% that's done right and that's handled the appropriate way just might change the world. And so the challenge is, are you in the 98% or the 2% when you're playing in these sandboxes? Is kind of interesting. The other thing is, in a decentralized environment, how do you hold wrongdoers accountable? So if somebody on the other side of the world through decentralized servers does something wrong, they take your money, they misrepresent something, and you either lose financially or you lose your reputation or brand, how do you hold them accountable? It's very, very challenging. So there are pros and cons with this type of technology. And I think that also applies, I'm writing a book, the Metaverse Handbook. And so I'm diving deep into all of these different issues. And I'm not taking a position on any of them. I'm just like, this is what you need to know. Do your due diligence and move forward accordingly to your comfort level. And speaking of comfort levels, let me come back to you in your book real quick, everyone, because I've only got Steve for a couple of more minutes, and I want to make sure we cover some of the things in his latest book, Got Seen. Early in your career, I know that you actually did some writing, I believe, for Jay Leno. Talk to us a little bit about your interactions with, Leno Productions or whatever it was, and what you learned from that, and what you shared in Got Seen about that experience, because I think a lot of people would want to know.
I was a producer on a morning radio show in Boston, and what I would do is I would get in there. I would go in there early, like 3:30 in the morning, get all the newspapers, and I would write like jokes based on the news for the DJs. And I'd write 10, 15 different jokes. And one day a comedian came in, and as comedians would come in, I'd be like, "Hey, I write jokes. Are you interested?" And one of the comedians said, "No, I'm not, but you should be writing jokes for Jay Leno." I was, what do you mean? He's like, "Oh, there's a thing called fax joke writers, which you fax in, just like this list I showed him. You fax in a list of jokes every day, and if they use them, they pay you whatever it was, like $100 per joke." And I was like, "Oh, how do you do that?" He said, "I'll connect you with the person." So he connected me with the Tonight Show, and I signed a contract, and I became a writer for Jay Leno. So I would still do the radio job and write all those jokes, and the jokes that they didn't use, I would have on a sheet of paper, and I would physically fax them in, and that's why you're a fax joke writer. And then I would, back to my VHS recorder, I would VHS record the Tonight Show every night because I'd be sleeping, because I would have to wake up to go to the radio show really early in the morning. But then I would play the tape to see if he used any of my jokes, and if he did, I would get a check in the mail from like Big Dog Productions or something, whatever his production company was, and I
Okay.
got
Oh, that's
some joke writing money from him. Yeah, so
You're
that
putting
was
yourself out there. I mean, you put yourself out there. You put yourself out there to get seen, right? Once again, I'm looking at all the comments, Steve. Everybody's loving your thoughts. Everyone loves having you on this show. But I like the fact that you gave yourself permission to put yourself out there. What if I write a joke and send it to Jay Leno and it's a terrible joke and he doesn't use it? I mean, what's the worst that can happen, right?
right.
Right? It's like, put yourself out there if you want to get seen. Make smart, educated decisions. Don't dive into this paralysis by analysis syndrome, which lawyers are famous for, Steve. But, just give yourself permission to do the right thing, to be truthful and honest, and share your hobbies, your interests, and passions using video like Steve's done so well over the years, which is what's brought us full circle from his first book, Get Seen, to his latest book, Got Seen, Steve's autobiography, to today's show. Steve, real quick, I've got a series of questions, maybe 60 seconds or less. If you were starting a small company today and you wanted to incorporate video into your marketing and branding, would you spend any time over on YouTube? Would you try to build a niche there, understanding how well built out it is? Or would you start spending your time and money and efforts on another platform, to generate traction as quickly as possible. So I guess broadly speaking, how would you use video today if you were starting a new company, a smaller company, to move forward in 2022 and beyond? It's a great question.
That is the age-old question.
It
Should you
is.
host your video on YouTube? Back when I started, there was no YouTube. We hosted our videos on our own servers, and then we were afraid that they'd get popular and get views because it would cost us money. And then YouTube came out, and we were like, okay, I guess we could put our videos there, but we really didn't like YouTube because you had to stream the video. And the way we were doing it was with RSS media enclosures and downloading them and having an RSS reader, and you would take your reader and all the videos would come down to your computer, and then once they were on your computer, then you could watch them, and they would be high quality, not like the what video YouTube had. But that's beside the point. The thing of where you're going to put your videos, what you need to have is your audience. Like, who is your audience? Who are you marketing to? You could throw all your videos up on YouTube, but what's your business? And where are those people living? Like, where are they? So, if you have a mailing list of your people who are your prospects or your clients, that's your audience. Or if you have a Facebook group and everybody's in that one Facebook group and it's private and you're all in there, that's where your audience is. Or maybe you're on Twitter and like all the people you know are on Twitter. So where are my people these days? I would say the most interaction and where the people are that follow me and that I get a lot of back and forth with is on Facebook. That's where my people are. Now, that doesn't mean you can't put your videos on YouTube. You can. You put your video on YouTube, and then you could go on Facebook, and you could have a link to YouTube, and your video lives on YouTube. Or you could upload it to YouTube, upload it to Facebook, upload it to Twitter, upload it natively to all the different platforms. But if you could waste your time spreading your video out to all these different platforms, but if you're not there and if you're not participating on that platform with those people, you're just throwing stuff up against a wall hoping that it'll stick, and this is not going to work. But if you're on, like LinkedIn, you're on LinkedIn and you sent me a message and I was like, oh, I have to go to LinkedIn to read this? Like, I never go to LinkedIn, but I'm on LinkedIn. So I went on to LinkedIn. And then I'm like, oh, you have 19 notifications. So I started looking at these notifications, and these are high quality like contacts of people that I've kind of not been on LinkedIn. But so I put that my book was free on Kindle today, just for all of your viewers. If you're watching today, 1/11/22, my book got seen as free on Kindle. So I put that up on LinkedIn, and everyone's talking to me on LinkedIn. It was a lot of good conversation. This one guy says, I've known you for 10 years. Wow, this is great to see. And like everyone's talking to me. And I was like, oh, so I think that LinkedIn is a pretty good platform to look at. So although I neglected it because I just had, but
you're not alone. You're not alone.
It's where you're going to interact with people is the answer.
If you want to get seen, you want to show up where your clients and customers are, where your friends, your family, people that share the same hobbies and interests. That's a great example. I think these major platforms, Steve, LinkedIn's so good when it comes to business connections. It just is. And it has come back around over the last couple of years in popularity, which is why I've kind of started spending more time over there also.
Yeah, it doesn't seem noisy, really.
It's
like
not
quality, like the feed is quality feed.
It is.
With Facebook, you kind of have to sift through some crazy stuff sometimes. On Facebook, my tip on Facebook is snooze for 30 days. If there's someone that's annoying you,
you're much more kind than I am.
Yeah, I don't kill them off right away. I'll snooze them for 30 days, and then 30 days later, all of a sudden, the things will start popping up again, and I'm like, boy, I haven't seen that person in a while.
Yeah, it's an interesting dynamic. But I'll tell you what's also interesting away from social media, and that's you, Steve Garfield. You your books have had an impact on not only my life, but many of my clients, my customers, people who have wanted to learn how to do video. I can't wait for everyone to get your latest book, Got Seen, your autobiography. When you do, and apparently it's free today on Amazon, the Kindle version, definitely leave a review for Steve. Let us know what you think wherever you're watching today's show. Okay, I'll share the show notes with Steve's links so you can reach out on LinkedIn or any other platform to
That'd
connect
be
with
fun.
Steve and just start the relationship, or let him know how he's positively changed or affected your life, and start what I call the digital dance. That's what's so much fun about social media. Steve, for everyone listening in the audio version of today's show, I'll probably rip the audio, convert it into a podcast. We'll edit it a little bit and get it out there. Somebody's on a long run, they're listening, they're like, I want to get a hold of this Steve Garfield guy. What's the best way for them to reach out and start the digital dance with you? What's your website?
Yeah, well, that's simple, stevegarfield.com.
stevegarfield.com. And for those of you listening, watching, I'm going to put it in the show notes below. My name's Mitch Jackson. You can connect with me all over the socials at Mitch Jackson. And Steve and everyone listening live and recorded, enjoy the journey, everybody. I know it's not easy right now, but we're going to make it happen, and never stop making each day in real life, on social media and digital, and in the metaverse, your masterpiece. Steve, thanks for being with us today. Really
Thanks.
appreciate it.
This is a lot of fun. All right.
It really was. Thank you. All right. Bye-bye, everybody. Take care. Hang on, Steve.